Hello, welcome back to my channel and another episode of Homebrew Mythic Climb. Today is day 12. I'm Ricky. Let's dive right in. As usual, just a reminder, I'm piling my friend's Homebrew deck that he took all the way to Mythic last season, and I'm trying to get to Mythic myself with his deck. If you're not interested in watching through the entire playthrough, I do have timestamps for all of the games, and I have featured games highlighted. So if you want to check out my timestamps below in the description, please go ahead and do that. Alright, so we are against Nukai. We have two playable creatures, our end game in our hand already, which is not entirely good, but we do have Maul of the Skyclave, so we can get some serious damage done if at least one of these creatures survives. So let's go ahead and try that. Alright, our opponent starts off with the Scryland, which shows us that he is playing Rogues. Ooh, very tempting. So there's a Selfless Savior here. I'm going to be aggressive and cast a Nullpriest. Let's see how this does. I am hoping it survives just a little bit. Ooh, okay, so our opponent plays Mazemind Tomb, so not the mere Rogues as we had anticipated. These colors, based on what I've seen... Oh no, another Snapbacks. Based on what I've seen, this actually indicates... what is that called? Sharknado of some... Shark Typhoon of some sort. Maul of the Skyclaves is risky. Selfless Savior is an inefficient play. Luminarch Aspirant is also just as risky. So, unfortunately, without knowing what his deck actually does, the safest bet is just to cast a Selfless Savior and pass, or and attack with a Nullpriest. Because for sure we know he can't destroy anything on that part, and it doesn't put us too far behind. It does add one layer of protection for us. For example, if he has a Spike Field Hazard or anything, he'll probably have to target the Selfless Savior, and we'll get that out of the way for our Luminarch Aspirant. It definitely is not the most efficient play. However, we only had one white mana, and again, the only reason I chose to play defensively is because I have literally no idea what my opponent's deck is going to do. So our opponent chooses to do nothing. We can we'll cast the Temple of Science to see what's coming up next. It's another land, which would be pretty great. It will allow us to cast our Snapbacks. So our goal here is really to get at least one of these creatures to survive until next turn so that our Snapbacks can do some damage. I think casting Maul of the Skyclaves here won't be a complete loss. If we cast Luminarch Aspirant, we're pretty scared of a Cinderclasm, and we can only save one of our creatures. So we'll get Maul of the Skyclaves in play and see if we can bait out any counters. We do bait out a counter, so that is still working to our favor, and we still get to attack for free. Our opponent is now at land 4. We can drop a land and play nothing because, again, we're still afraid of Cinderclasm. I might be playing a little bit too defensive here, but our goal is to get one of these creatures to survive so we can cast Snapbacks on it. And, well, actually, since we have two Snapbacks, let's see what happens if we try and get him in. Even if it gets countered, we have a second one in our hand. So it's actually reasonably safe for us to try and go for this. Let's see what our opponent does. Our opponent does decide to counter it, which is fine. Like I said, we have a second copy in our hand, and because we already have damage on board, we can continue to press the attack even though one of our spells got countered. Our opponent resolves a Kroxa, so here I believe I'll have to bin my Luminarch Aspirant because Snapdax is better. Our opponent probably doesn't have as many counter spells now with only 2 mana open, so let's see what we can do here. Our opponent has a tapped land, so it's now our turn. Ooh, we have a Lurrus we can bring back with the Luminarch Aspirant. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, actually, because that makes our board go really wide. And if our opponent still has counter spells for that, well, shame on us. Well, actually, wow, that... maybe that's not the best plan, considering... it's kind of risky. Let's get the Luminarch Aspirant in play. Let's be a little bit greedy this turn. Mostly because our opponent is tapped out a little bit on mana. Our opponent has Heartless Act, which is fine, because we can protect it with Lurrus. We don't get to recur our Selfless Savior next turn. Or this turn, because we did get our Luminarch Aspirant back. And now we are very, very vulnerable to a board wipe. So kicking the Luminarch Aspirant might have been a mistake. So if our opponent has Cinderclasm, we have basically lost, and our opponent has basically drawn perfectly. So let us see what we see. He casts another Kroxa, which is fine. Our Snapdax gets binned, but that's okay, because our opponent can't cast the Snapdax, so we're still pretty safe. We have another land. We will cast our Selfless Savior from the graveyard. Our opponent casts Neutralize to counter it, or he cycles the Neutralize to draw a card. He does not find what he's looking for, apparently, so now we will add a 1/1 counter to Lurrus to make him a little bit more self-survivable, and we will press the attack. Ooh, our opponent finds their red source, so they cast Kroxa, which means we will have to discard a card, which means it doesn't matter anyway because we have a creature with Menace that can go right through him. We did not mulligan this turn, we did not get mana screwed, we won this one, not a free game, and this was plat 3, puts us as 2 pips for our game 1 of the day. For those of you who are wondering what I'm muttering, I keep custom stats on my games on whether or not I took a mulligan, whether or not I was mana screwed or mana flooded, whether or not I won or lose, whether or not we were given a free win, and our rank progress on our journey. I do that because Untapped.gg does not keep those stats, and I feel like I'm mana cursed, and I want to be able to prove it with my stats, and that's why it's there. Both my Untapped.gg and the Google Sheet where I'm tracking these stats are linked below in the description. If you're on YouTube, go check it out. Our opponent's going first, and we have 2 playable creatures and 2 support kill spells. However, we are going second, which is not as ideal, but it's not unplayable, so we will keep it. Against our opponent coughing. Off to a good start for them because they already have an attacker on turn 1. Fortunately, we do see a Selfless Savior, so we do get to play something on turn 1. Our little wait here is back. Haven't really decided what to name it yet. Our opponent is getting some early mills in. Let's see what they got. Ooh, they got some pretty nice gas here. 2 Nullpriest and a Maul the Skyclaves. We definitely could have used those to help us win. But seeing as how we are where we are at, let us try and get our Hushbringer in to stop any more ETB trigger shenanigans, ETB being enter the battlefield. Our opponent casts Nighthawk Scavenger. Pretty scary, but Like I said, its ETB ability gets stomped by the Hushbringer, which is excellent for us. Ooh, and we draw Lurrus, which is excellent. Excellent, excellent. We can start kicking creatures back from the graveyard if we need to. However, we don't want it to instantly die. And I think at this point we would much rather just kill his Nighthawk Scavenger because it is pretty pesky. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll drop a land. We can't do anything about that, so we will attack for 1. So I'm attacking for 1 here because there are other ways for our opponent to get cards into our graveyard, so it might, his Thief's Guild Enforcers might get bigger anyway. But if they just attack, yep, like I said, they can attack and they'll get bigger, so there was no way I could have blocked with the Hushbringer anyway. So here we are, we see the Thieves Guild Enforcers get bigger. Here I will block the Thieves Guild Enforcer, and I will sacrifice it to protect my Hushbringer, in case he's thinking of anything nasty. And the next turn we can recur it with our Lurrus. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to drop this as a black source. Whoops, that's definitely don't want to tap our white mana. We want to leave our white mana open. So we get our Lurrus, and then we will recur our Selfless Savior. And we'll pass the turn, because we can't attack through the Soaring Thought Thief. Our opponent plays another land, which is kind of good news for us, I suppose. However, it does give him a second blue source, which makes it more likely for him to cast his counter spells. Our opponent is thinking about what to do. He decides to force us to mill 2 cards. He does have a lot of kill spells, so what we can do here is just take the damage. I don't want to sacrifice the dog to save Lurrus just this turn because he does have a lot of mana open. So here, let's see what we can do. It looks like we're going to be playing a lot of black cards, so I will drop this as a black source. I'm going to start with casting a Nullpriest of Oblivion to see if it gets countered. It does not, so I will now cast Bloodchief's Thirst on our opponent's Soaring Thought Thief, which will make his creature slightly smaller, and we can cast another Flying Lifelinker. And here we will attack with our Lifelinkers, I suppose, and see what happens. Our opponent does nothing, which is great for us. Our opponent attacks for 6. At this point, I'm fine with just trading creatures like this. I'll block the Nullpriest. I'm fine with trading damage like that because, in fact, I gain more life. Our opponent casts the Awakening, which gets him a lot of creatures into play, which is unfortunate for us. However, we do see a Fabled Passage, which allows us to kick our Oblivions. However, we do have Hushbringer in play, so that is not exactly the best idea. We learned our lesson the hard way last time. So what we can do here is... it looks like we're going to need a lot of flying creatures, so let's get up more Hushbringers and another Hushbringer. and we will end our turn here. The Rogues is such an efficient deck, it's very annoying. And here you are seeing it in action. Our opponent casts Drown in the Lock on our Lurrus. Obviously we'll have to protect that. Our opponent plays a land and attacks with everything. He decides against it and just attacks our Nighthawk Scavenger. This is actually to our advantage that our opponent will kill all 3 of our Hushbringers, because then we can kick our Nullpriest and bring back our Baneslayer Angel. So little does he know, he is falling into our trap. So all of our Hushbringers are now in the graveyard. We get to kick our Nullpriest of Oblivion and bring back our Baneslayer Angel. Although it would be safer to bring back a Selfless Savior first. Can we survive having just Selfless Savior in play? Selfless Savior is safer, so I will bring Selfless Savior back first. And I will pass the turn. Ooh, he casts another Thief's Guild Enforcer, which is a lot of cards binned. We do still have 27 cards in our deck. Our opponent attacks with Soaring Thought Thief, which is fine with me. I'll just take the 2 damage. And it is my turn once again. So here we see again, we can kick our Nullpriests with Kicker. And bring back our Baneslayer Angel. And we can cast Speaker of the Heavens from our hand. Nothing more to do here, so now we pass the turn. Ooh, I could have attacked with the bat, I suppose. So our opponent casts another Soaring Thought Thief, which will mill another million cards, unfortunately. Looks like we needed to get our Hushbringer in sooner. Our opponent has been pretty lucky with getting these things out. So we see Luminarch Aspirant as a potential. However, we can kick Nullpriest of Oblivion again, or we can just get another Luminarch Aspirant into play. So let's bring out. If we bring out Hushbringer, we won't be able to kick any more of our Nullpriests, but we do need to definitely start gaining life this turn. So I think our best bet is to get our Luminarch Aspirant out, get our other Luminarch Aspirant out. We want to put a lot of 1/1 counters on our Nullpriests. And then what I want to do is attack with the Baneslayer Angel and attack with our Nullpriest. Our opponent lets it go, which means they will take a whole bunch of damage. We'll end our turn here. Our opponent is definitely looking to deck us out now. Hopefully he did not draw a rogue. He's milling 4 cards a turn now, which is pretty scary. We don't need to block. However, if we do block, we might be able to get to our threshold here. We see a Maul of the Skyclaves, which is excellent. We'll definitely need to play that, so let's go ahead and start with Maul of the Skyclaves. We'll drop it on our Nullpriest. And at this point, we probably want to block the Soaring Thought Thief, so actually after I attack, I can just move the Maul of the Skyclaves onto Speaker of the Heavens, and we should be pretty good. And our opponent sees the line, and he doesn't think he can survive long enough for him to pull it off, so we win. Second win, plat 3 pips on day 2. So on to game 3. Like I said, if you're interested in checking out the stats, check out the link in the description below. While you're down there, like and subscribe. And of course, if you're interested into just jumping forward into the games that I have timestamps, like I said earlier, down below. Our opponent is Louis V31. Louis Vile? Our opponent's going first. We have 3 playable creatures plus Maul of the Skyclaves. Looking pretty good here. Our opponent drops the Forest, which is okay for us. Means he's running some sort of Gruul deck, very likely. Yep, Gruul. The green-red decks. Brushfire Elemental, classic. Don't need to care about that. We want to get our Flyers out, I suppose, is fine. And we can attack with our Speaker of the Heavens. Our opponent casts a second Brushfire Elemental. Presumably he'll drop a land. Whoa! He dropped a Fabled Passage, so now his creatures will be massive. Very lucky draw there. Very lucky draw. Nothing I can do here. I can't block either of those, so I will take damage. We see Maul of the Skyclaves and Bloodchief's Thirst here, so I think it's safer for me to play Bloodchief's Thirst to kill one of them in case he has another Fabled Passage up his sleeve. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I will also drop a Nullpriest of Oblivion to spice things up. Our opponent does not have more Fabled Passages, but he does find his 4th land, so he's thinking about what to do now. So the reason I dropped Nullpriest there was obviously because I needed Bloodchief's Thirst to kill the Brushfire Elemental, which leaves us only with 2 mana, and I can't cast Maul of the Skyclaves, but I do have, and I already had a second Hushbringer, so that's why I chose to do Nullpriest as opposed to Hushbringer. Our opponent attacks with 4, fine with that, not an issue. And our opponent casts Scorching Dragonfire on one of our creatures. So our opponent is running out of gas very quickly. Fortunately for us, we did just draw a Lurrus, so I think that can get us more creatures back into play. So we'll drop a Lurrus and get Speaker of the Heavens back. And we'll attack for 1 with our Hushbringer. Our opponent has Scavenging Ooze, very scary, very scary. Does nullify our Lurrus quite a bit. Our opponent eats his own creature. So now we are at 5 mana. We can attach Maul of the Skyclaves onto our Speaker of the Heavens. We can drop another Hushbringer. And we can attack with these two creatures. Oof. I probably should have put it onto my Speaker of the Heavens instead, huh? Or sorry, I should put the Maul of the Skyclaves onto Lurrus instead, huh? I think we can take 4 damage here. We draw a land, which is not ideal. We'll leave 1 to block in case he draws another Fabled Passage. Oof. Seems like I definitely needed to put Maul of the Skyclaves onto the Lurrus instead. So apparently that was a mistake. Our opponent has no more creatures to remove to grow his Scavenger Ooze bigger. Opponent gets a land and grows bigger. It's kind of scary if he has a pump spell, so I'll just let the damage go. My opponent has Embercleave for the win, so it doesn't matter if I block anyway. And here we are at 1 life. Ooh, very lucky here. We do see Bloodchief's Thirst. So we can go ahead and cast that for 1 mana. However, our opponent does have an Embercleave on a Brushfire Elemental, so that's pretty scary. That's going to be an 8/8. It's a 4/4. We definitely have to block. We don't have a choice. And our opponent casts Bonecrusher Giant. Unfortunately, we do not see what we needed to win, so the best we can hope for is equip our Hushbringer here and hope our opponent doesn't have a land. Let's draw a card. We see Lurrus. Lurrus can help us win. However, I don't think we can attack here. If we attack here, we can't even block the Brushfire Elemental. And we need 2 blockers next turn, so we will have to hope our opponent does not draw a land. Although actually, all he needs to do is equip his Embercleave onto his Bonecrusher Giant, and then there's nothing left we can do. 7... we'll survive 1 more turn. Our opponent casts Bonecrusher Giant, and I think he sees it. All he needs to do is exactly that. I suppose we'll have to block the Brushfire Elemental here. Yep, our opponent forgot to move the Embercleave over. We see... Don't think we can survive Embercleave. Hushbringer has 1 extra toughness, so I think that's good. Don't think I can attack here because our opponent has Embercleave. We do need the first strike. If we had mana, we can attack here. I don't think we can attack here. If we survive this turn, all we need to do is equip Maul of the Skyclaves onto Lurrus, and then we will win. We will have the 5 damage. However, our opponent top decks a Vivian, and I believe that is the end of our dreams here. Ooh, our opponent does not have mana to equip Embercleave, however. He does get Reach. We draw yet another land, which is not what we want to see. We can, I think we have to try and attack here. Gain some life. If our opponent draws a land, we lose. All around, this is pretty miserable. Our opponent goes for the block. We do get some life back, so we will attach our Maul of the Skyclaves onto our Lurrus.
I'd like you to meet my friend, Stumpy.
Our opponent has a bunch of blockers. However, if we block that guy, we'll be at 11 and we'll take 7. We don't have any other good blocks against Bone Crusher Giant, so I think this is the best we're going to get. And we draw more lands. Into more lands, so that's the end of that for us. And that's the game. Our opponent top decks Vivian, and we get the loss. So no mulligan. Wasn't really a flood at the end there. We lost this one. It was not a free game. We are back down to 2 pips. Top deck. Alright, so our opponent drew exactly what they needed at the right time. That's how it goes sometimes. Because if you think about it, most of your own wins are going to be the same. The situation's looking precarious, and you need to draw exactly what you need, and, you know, that's how it goes. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Costalero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our hand is relatively weak. We only have 2 creatures, a support kill spell, our end game, but none of what we're hoping to see. However, it's not unplayable, so let's give it a go. We'll start with the white source from our flip land. Hopefully we can either see something we can play, or we'll drop our Temple of Silence here. We do want to be life linking as soon as possible, so I will have Temple of Silence here. We see the Gloom Hunter, which is not what we want at this point. And we will drop a Speaker of the Heavens. So the reason I bottomed the Gloom Hunter is because we already have Baneslayer Angel in our hand. We just want to get it out as fast as possible. So getting to 5 lands ASAP is going to be a better plan than having a bat in play. Our opponent has the 1/1 human token. We can drop a plains, play the Aspirant, add a counter to our Speaker of the Heavens, and then attack the Speaker of the Heavens. Start gaining that life. Our opponent plays the 3rd color. Edgewell Innkeeper comes in. And it's our turn. Ooh, we see another Luminarch Aspirant, which is very, very spicy. What we can do here is drop 1 on the Aspirant, drop 1 on Speaker of the Heavens. And then we'll go ahead and attack with our Speaker of the Heavens. Our opponent casts Brazen Borrower, so our Speaker of the Heavens will get returned to our hand. We will cast Speaker of Heavens once again, and we will kill his Edgewell Innkeeper to prevent it from getting any more tokens. Or any more card draw. Or any card draw. He hasn't gotten any card draw out of Edgewell Innkeeper yet. Opponent has a 4th land. And casts Lovestruck Beast as a gigantic wall. Our turn. Ooh, we see Lurrus, which is excellent. So yeah, we can go ahead and drop the Lurrus. Next in turn, we will drop some 1/1 counters on Speaker of the Heavens. We'll attack with the Speaker of Heavens. Opponent blocks. We will protect it with our Selfless Savior. And we'll cast Selfless Savior again. So the whole goal of that was to gain the life that Speaker of the Heavens gains with lifelink and gets us ever closer to that threshold, which we need. Our opponent cast Great Henge. That's not good news for us. That is a very powerful card for their deck. Opponent has 3 mana. And casts Cultivate. So now our opponent has 1,000,000 mana. It's now our turn. We see Nullpriest of Oblivion, which we will go ahead and cast. No reason not to at this point. Next to combat, we will make our Speaker of the Heavens once again quite large. We will attack with our Speaker of the Heavens. Our opponent blocks with the 1/1. And we will activate its ability to get a 4/4 Angel. So it's kind of scary that our opponent hasn't cast anything, so if he has Storm's Wrath maybe, that will clear our board, except Speaker of the Heavens. Genesis Ultimatum is also very, very scary. I don't want to know what's coming in. Terror of the Peaks is pretty scary. Our opponent keeps the top card, gets to draw it from the Great Henge trigger. Our opponent activates Fabled Passage to find more lands. It is a red source, which is once again very scary. But seeing the Terror of the Peaks, I'm less afraid of board wipes now. Storm's Wrath without a, like, if Terror of the Peaks didn't have a woman counter, it is susceptible to Storm's Wrath. Our opponent casts a Dryad of Elysian Growth. So here he's targeting our Lurrus, I believe, so we'll protect our Lurrus. We see a Fabled Passage, which is excellent. However, I do think we need to get our Selfless Savior back into play first. Yes, we definitely need to get our Selfless Savior back into play first. So that means we can't do anything crazy. However, what we can do is make our current angel quite large. And we can attack with the angel. Goes through, and we can activate to get another angel now. Unfortunately, our opponent has a bajillion mana now, and we're sitting duck with their Great Henge in play, so here we go. The silliness continues. Our opponent gets Edgewall Innkeeper and 2 Brazen Borrowers. Okay, so let's resolve the Temple of Abandon. He bottoms it. So the Great Henge is going to let our opponent draw the card. So he's targeting our Luminarch for 2, our Angel for 4, and our Lurus for 4. So we'll have to protect our Lurus. Opponent casts Bone Crusher to kill our Lurus. And our opponent has Spikefield Hazard for our other Luminarch Aspirants. So our opponent's deck goes off perfectly as planned, and unfortunately we are dead in the water. Nine damage. Our Speaker of the Heavens is no longer online, so here we cast Baneslayer, Angel, and that's the best we can do. It's 5/5. These two can't block, but if they double block with Lovestruck Beast and Edgewall Innkeeper, our Speaker of the Heavens will die. So not much we can do here except pass the turn. Our opponent has Soul Seer, and I don't think that's recoverable from us anymore, especially if they resolve another Genesis Ultimatum. Although they only get 2 permanents in play, they have their hand full, and you know, there's no reason that they can't cast more creatures and just kill everything else that we have on board. So we will concede. Bone Crusher Giant comes in, it'll kill our Speaker of the Heavens, and that's it. So our opponent's deck goes off, and we lose. Sad days, but sometimes that's how it is. Game 5 against Call Me Tim. Maybe I'll call him Tom just to piss him off. Let's see what our opponent Tom will do. We have 1 creature and 2 Maul of the Skyclaves against a Yorion control deck, so I will have to mulligan this. Slightly better, so let's keep this. Drop a Plains and call it a day. Temple of Silence lets us scry, which is pretty good. We see Speaker of the Heavens, which can help. Our opponent has a semi-slow start, but the Yorion deck is excellent. We see Speaker of the Heavens, however, I think we'd rather see Nullpriest of Oblivion go in now. Let's cast Speaker of the Heavens and a second Nullpriest. Well, let's attack first. Let's see if our opponent decides to shock or spike with hazard. He does not. We'll cast another Nullpriest Oblivion and hope our opponent does not have Cinderclasm. If it's Cinderclasm, we instantly lose because that's a 3-for-1. And we have no other cards coming in that will threaten our opponent's control deck. Let's see what's coming up. Birth of Militus is not going to help our opponent all that much unless he is mana strapped. He is not mana strapped because he casts a Temple of Enlightenment. So we're probably looking at a Storm's Wrath next turn, so I will hold back my Luminarch Aspirant. Black Source seems pretty good here. We will attack with everything that will gain us 5 life and get us an Angel. However, if it's Storm's Wrath or Shadow the Sky, none of that will matter because everything will be dead. Storm's Wrath, like I mentioned. We see a 5th land, so that's excellent. I suppose I'll have to cast Baneslayer Angel now. But if this turn is going what I think it's going, our opponent is going to have Elspeth Conquers Death here. Or that. Here we get double Luminarch Aspirant. Opponent casts Omen of the Forge. That's precisely why we doubled up the counters on one creature. Because if he has another copy of this, both of our Luminarchs would have died. Our opponent casts Stonecoiled Serpent. We'll have Maul of the Skyclaves to answer. 6/6 Trample. Our opponent can block. Simply attacks for 4 and calls it a day, looks like. Casts another Birth of Militus. Luca comes in. Sacrifices the Stone Coil for Yorion. Yorion will recast all 3 of those things. Pretty annoying, pretty annoying. Omen of the Forge will be to our face because Luminarch Aspirant will survive 2 damage. We see Selfless Savior come in. Our Luminarch Aspirant gets bigger yet again, and we attack for 7. I have a feeling our opponent is going to block anyway, so let's attack for 7 and try and get rid of Luca. Yep, so I don't think that mattered. Which one I attacked? Like I said, our opponent just always has exactly what they need. Gets rid of the Maul of the Skyclaves. Exiles the wall from Birth of Militus into another wall, and then he'll get to flicker the Elspeth Conquers Death again, and I don't think there's any way for us to recover unless we draw Snapdecks. Not really sure why our opponent didn't flicker Elspeth Conqueror's Death. Oh, you can only target things with converted mana 3 or greater. Forgot about that. So we live to fight another day. We did the double counters from our double Luminarch again to prevent our creatures from dying from Omen of the Forge. Our opponent sees Angel of Destiny. And the Dream Trawler, of course. So let's see what we can do here. I want to force him to block me, so I believe I have to attack both creatures here. I can cast Heartless Act onto Angel of Destiny to kill it, so he'll be forced to block the Dream Trawler. I believe that's my best bet. However, our opponent has Elspeth Conquers Death, so once again, it doesn't really matter. Looks like I needed to go for Luca instead, huh? Maul of the Skyclaves is curious. Have to force him to block. Here, perhaps? Opponent is scrying through his deck like crazy. He sees what he likes. At least I get rid of the token. Our opponent sees another Angel of Destiny. What? That should have only been... Oh, right, should have said 19. Right.
Surround me.
We have to force the blocks here. Well, I mean, we've gotten decent luck with drawing some gas. Our opponent has obviously drawn what he's needed to draw. So this is coming down to a death race here. Our opponent has way more cards than we do, though, and he can still continuously sacrifice his creatures, destroy all non-land permanents, of course. Bloodchief's Thirst. Alright, sure, why not? Let's stall out this game. Our opponent probably has another Dream Trawler in his hand. If he has a Dream Trawler, Amira's Call, and I think that's the end of the game, yep. Sad days. On to the next one. GRU Control. Man, I have not seen that before. Opponent goes first. We have 2 playable creatures and some support kill spells, so let's go ahead and keep that against our opponent, Brazzy. So no no first play turns. First turn plays. So we can go ahead and drop our Fabled Passage. Our Fabled Passage. Maze Man Tomb. Can't forget to activate this, of course. So we'll have to do that now. We are looking for a white source because we can get white, and we have 2 black already. Play a Nullpriest of Oblivion here. And get some aggression going. Our opponent is being very sketchy by not playing anything, so let us drop the Luminarch Aspirant. And see what happens. Cinderplasm, of course. Quite the silly card. Nothing we can do against Cinderplasm though. Okay, so now we have 4 mana, which is not quite for us to have any sort of Lurus recursion, so we will lead with the Nullpriest of Oblivion again and end the turn. Our opponent has Sanctum of All already. Wow. Turn 5 Sanctum of All. Wow. So that's not good. Isn't very much we can do against that. We can get our Lurus out. And get our Luminarch Aspirant back. Luminarch Aspirant on our Nullpriest, and then we'll start the attack. I'm not sure if we'll have enough damage to race this down, but let's see. Our opponent wants to draw cards. So let's see if our opponent draws what he needs to win. Once he gets all 5 Sanctums out, he's pretty much won. There's nothing much we can do against that. Sanctum of Heights. And Stone Fangs were all in his hand already. Wow. I just don't understand our opponent's luck. So, like, we're to believe that our opponent basically drew 5 colors perfectly to cast Sanctum of All, and in his hand he had Sanctum of Shattered Heights and Sanctum of Stone Fangs in his opening hand. So he had 5 lands, Sanctum, 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 and a Cinderclasm. I don't know, man. Like, I've played a Sanctum deck before. The chances of getting a hand that looks like this is like 1 in 10. I don't know, man. So I'm offering the GG here because the Sanctum of Twinkle Light will just tap down your entire board, and then you have the Shattered Heights. All of your lands become like epic kill spells. So our opponent just had used zero effort to get out any of his cards and had the exact correct board wipe to end us. So, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing to deserve this, but here we are. Just our opponent's drawing exactly what they need to to win. This is beyond sort of lucky. I mean, like the Yorion Lucat was sort of okay. There are a lot of cards. You know, he has 80-something cards in his deck, so drawing the cards that he needed, you know, were statistically unlikely, and he didn't win with the exact same card over and over again. But you know, with the Vivian top deck, and then now this Sanctum deck that just literally needed the exact perfect hand to win, and they had it right off the bat in the beginning. They didn't have a single wasted turn. It's unbelievable. Our opponent is going first once again. I won't attack here. I don't want to sacrifice my dogs into any of the annoying rogues or the Soaring Thought Thief, so we will just let that go. Opponent casts a second Soaring Thought Thief. Not what we want to see. Our opponent even has a Lurus for this, so we can pretty much just sit and do nothing, I guess. Third Soaring Thought Thief? Just... honestly, what am I doing wrong here? You saw this on day 11 or day 10. Literally the exact same thing. Like, what am I supposed to do here? This is so silly. You guys can't see it because, you know, my face is covering it, but 50 cards. So that's 7 cards in. He has 3 copies of Soaring Thought Thief. Why does this always happen when... I just don't understand. This game should not be putting me on like 6 game winning losses. I just don't understand. When I'm like... Our deck has a chance against the rogues, but not when they draw like this. So here I'm forced to do this just to survive next turn because they have 12 on board. But if they drown in the lock, exactly my point. They have literally exactly what they need in the top 7 cards of their or top 10 cards of their deck. Just all of our opponents getting god hands after god hands after god hands every single day. And for the days where our opponents don't draw God hands, they draw, or we get mana screwed or mana flooded. Today we have 0 mana events, but our opponents just keep drawing their deck's God hands, or top decks exactly what they need. And we are going second yet again. You know what? I'm gonna add that to my list. I honestly don't know how many times I've gone second or first, so yeah, it'd be pretty interesting to keep track of which games went when. So let's see where our opponent targets. Yeah, I think we'll sacrifice that to protect our Hushbringer. At least it has lifelink. Oh, and we do see the Lurus, which is nice. If we draw an extra land, that's not a land. Nullpriest of Oblivion comes in. Attack for 1. Our opponent sees exactly what our plan is now. Unfortunately, against the GRU Control and Doom Foretold, that spells pretty much immediate death against us when they can see everything coming from a mile away. Treacherous Blessing comes in. We still don't see what we need to see, so the best we can do is cast the Speaker of the Heavens, cast another Nullpriest, and then attack for a bunch. Yep, so our savior, Selfless Savior gets exiled. We didn't have enough mana to save it. If we had 4 mana, we could have done Lurus plus that instead. And of course, he's going to choose even. All of our creatures are now exiled. We can't even save them. And now we are mana screwed. $48-3. Is that mana screw? I think 48-3 is mana screw. Yep, 10% chance of 48-3 happening. Wow. Okay, so now, what is this? I draw all 4 copies of Nullpriest of Oblivion with no lands to support it. This game is straight trolling me, yo. So we won't attack with the Speaker of Heavens just in case he has something to block, and if he has something to block, he won't be able to kill it or block the Nullpriest anyway, except he has Omen, which is literally perfect for our opponent here. So here we will lose both creatures. We'll get the Nullpriest in. 4th copy, but doesn't help if our opponent has a pretty good arsenal. We get the Lurus, we get the Speaker of the Heavens. Yorion's coming in to kill us with the Skyclave Apparition. Our Lurus is going to be no more. He doesn't even need to Yorion that, he just casts Skyclave Apparition onto our Speaker, which means he has another kill spell for Lurus, or not. He doesn't need it apparently. So here we are. Let's try and mutate. kind of risky if he has a kill spell. But yeah, let's try. We don't have any other way of getting Snapdax in play anyway, so even if he kills the Lurrus here, trying to get Snapdax in play is probably worth it. At the very least, we'll get the trigger. I suppose both cards are exiled, so it doesn't matter. Our Nullpriest does give us a bigger creature, so let's kill the one that's covering our Nullpriest. And then we'll attack for 6. Our opponent has Omen of the Sun. 4 blockers. And surely they will spend 1 to block, which is what we see. Our opponent has Yorion, which will mean our Skyclave is going to kill our Snapdax, but we have our Baneslayer to come in next turn. Baneslayer Angel comes in, but it's just going to die instantly, or our opponent's going to cast Doom Foretold now, and then, yep, that's it. That's the end. So we lose to Skyclave Apparition. Pretty standard. Our deck is very weak against Skyclave Apparition, so I'm not surprised about the loss there. So nothing really to complain about this particular game, except for the fact that we got mana screwed. You know another reason why I think I'm justified in saying I'm just friggin' cursed? My friend didn't change his deck list, and he's all the way up in Diamond now, using the exact same deck. I don't think I've made that many large mistakes. I just don't see... All I see is we keep getting second, and we keep getting pummeled to death by improbable card draws or mana screwed. Like, this entire day today is just our opponent draws God Hand after God Hand, top deck after top deck, and we, the one game that we have a chance, we get mana screwed. So, no, we don't actually have a chance either. Also makes the gameplay very boring when there's nothing to comment on except how lucky our opponent is drawing. We're not learning anything. There's nothing to be learned when the game just wants you to lose. Opponent gets the Lovestruck Beast in. Very nice for him, very nice for him. Here we should probably Heartless Act our opponent's Lovestruck Beast. Maul of the Skyclaves is quite excellent, that's what we want to see. So if we're planning on playing Maul of the Skyclaves next turn, it's probably actually not. We definitely do need to get rid of the Lovestruck Beast right now, I believe. And then we can attack for 1 damage. Next turn we can get a Nullpriest and an Aspirant into play. Our opponent probably has Embercleave here. Because of course they do. Can't be blocked by 2 or less. Just need to be gaining more life here, so let's do this and attack. If our opponent draws a Fabled Passage, I think they win. It's just the land, so at least it's only a 4/4. That doesn't deserve a comment, so moving on. So I've been thinking maybe a better idea is just to grind all the way to diamond before making some of these videos, and then I can keep track of the games maybe. So once again, we're going second for whatever reason. Okay, you would think it's 50-50, but apparently it's not even close. Alright, let's try it. Five mana gets us to Snapdack, so let's see it. Second here. Okay. Guess we're dropping the Nullpriest. Alright, 2 copies, 2 copies. That's fine, I guess. Because I have 2 copies of Nullpriest of Oblivion here. Rankle comes in. That's excellent. Snapducks does give us a fighting chance. We can get rid of the Rankle so he can't force us to discard any more creatures, and then we can just get in some sweet, sweet lifelink. Of course, our opponent has Drown in the Lock. Pretty typical for the Rogue deck. We can kick the Nullpriest for value and get our Snapdax back. But without lifelink, it is a lot weaker and a lot worse of a deal. Our opponent has Heartless Act for our Lurrus. We wouldn't have 4 mana anyway. Fabled Passage. I think we have to be gaining life to stay alive, so I have to put the 1/1 counter here. So here you see we have Mana Flood, and our opponent just draws God Hands. Just what am I supposed to do? Well, I can't survive next turn anyway, so let's see what we draw. There you have it, folks. I got milled a bunch of cards, but look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 freaking lands. You know what it is? It's probably my friend, because he's playing this deck on the ladder as well, he's probably sucking up all the luck for the deck. Oh, we finally go first! What do you know? What do you know? Is there hope? Is our opponent Blots just going to draw a million perfect cards again? Just like the rest of our opponents have. Let's go for a Hushbringer because I don't like it when I see white. Although, might just be a Glass Casket Gilded Goose. That's pretty good. Made a good choice with the Hushbringer here. We'll get the Nullpriest in. We're not too concerned about losing a creature, so we'll attack with both. Our opponent casts Llanowar Visionary, which also gets stomped by the Hushbringer. We see Temple of Silence. I think that's probably the better bet here. We can be a little bit conservative. Luminarch Aspirant is excellent. So this turn will definitely get the Lurrus in play. And we will attack with the Hushbringer just to gain that 1 life. We don't necessarily want to trade our Nullpriest of Oblivion, but let's go ahead and do it. I think that's fine. If he wants to trade, we would have gladly taken that trade. Our opponent casts another Llanowar Visionary. I'm inclined to think I'm getting a pity match against a bot now. Yeah, Luminarch Aspirant. Next, put it on our Hushbringer. We can attack with the Hushbringer and our Nullpriest. We are eating up the damage, which is great. Our opponent creates a food token. Wicked Wolf comes in, which also gets shut down by Hushbringer. It's once again our turn. Drop the Temple of Silence to see what we're dealing with. We see another land, we can bottom that. Cast the Baneslayer Angel. We can make our Luminar Aspirant, make our Hushbringer bigger yet again. And we'll attack with the Hushbringer. Opponent is creating a lot of food tokens though, so that's a little bit unfortunate. They can gain 6 life here. Oh. Just why?
Always consider the consequences of your freedom.
Just why? A white-green Ujin deck.
Reality is unwritten.
So our opponent can basically do anything they want to us now. Their Ujin is massive. Anything that we play, he'll just yeah, with the Charming Prince, it's gonna refresh. I mean, to be fair, that was one of the more fair losses that we've seen. We had a good start. Maybe we should have been a little bit more aggressive with the Baneslayer, but I don't think we lost that on 9 damage. At most, we might have lost that on 5. So yeah, it didn't matter. As soon as Ujin hits the board, our deck just gets wiped. So here we are, we get to go first again. Again, we're afraid of the shocks and the other cheap kill spells, so we'll keep Lurus in our hand for now. Our opponent is playing Instants and Sorceries. Is it Classic? Is it? Our opponent has the Spikefield Hazard. Fair enough. And gets a Stormwing Entity. Gloomnarch Aspirant comes out for us. We can... that converted mana cost is 5, so we can't kill it. We can put a counter on Nullpriest and attack for 3. We're behind on the land drop, so we've missed 1, but that does not miss. Again with the Cinderclasm. Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't complain. Cinderclasm is there for rogues as well. A lot of the rogues will die to the 2 damage, so, you know, it's not anything surprising. This is very frustrating playing games in one day and, you know, just your opponents just get exactly what they need the entire time. For example, that three copies of Opt. Two. To be fair, I guess that's two. 2 copies in the top third. I guess not entirely too rare.
My sister by my side. I do not fear the unknown. You will not block my noble path.
Fabled Passage. Aspirant comes in. Might as well get the land now. I can't even mutate Snapbacks next turn. Another Ironcrag Pyromancer. And our Aspirant is dead. Doesn't even need to kill it, but it doesn't matter. I can't recover against this board position. Game 12. What went wrong there? Cinderclasm again. Hello, hello. Jean Apaditu. Je n'ai pas de tu. Ah, you have nothing. I get it. Sorry, I missed your message. Opponent's going first. We have something playable. Let's do it. Our opponent is red deck wins, which is not good news for us. Start with the Selfless Savior. In case they have Stonecrusher Giant in their hand. We can't block that, and they draw a Heartless Act. At least we have the Savior. Get the Luminarch Aspirant going. We will pump it up and attack for 1. Spikefield Hazard comes in to get rid of our Selfless Savior, so we'll have to try and protect our Aspirant. Opponent attacks, steals a Baneslayer Angel. and we'll block the robber. Our opponent removes counters, so it survives. I mean, his robber survives. We do need that, so Speaker of the Heavens comes in, and Luminarch Aspirant. We'll get 2 counters on one of our aspirants and pass the turn. Annex comes in. Not that scary for us, fortunately. Another land. We'll put the Maul of the Skyclaves onto Speaker of the Heavens. And then we will make our Speaker of the Heavens extremely large. And we'll attack for 5. Our opponent can block with Robber of the Rich if they choose, but they do not. So we just gain some life and call it a day. I can survive Embercleave here, honestly, so not really sure I actually need to block here. So yeah, Embercleave comes in. I guess I should have blocked, because my Speaker of the Heavens is still larger than that, and I would have survived anyway. Well, we see another Luminarch Aspirant, which is actually hilarious now. It's now a massive creature. 8, 14, 8, 12. We only have 12 damage on board. So perhaps we attack with this one as well. Let's leave it as a blocker just in case. Our opponent has Torbrand. So here what we can do is block the Annex. Our creature will die. And I think we'll survive. So that's 2 plus 2 damage. We'll gain 8, so yeah, there's no way we can't survive this. I think that's all we need to do here is block like this. In our turn, we equip our Luminarch Aspirants. We go to combat, we equip everything onto our flyer. And we swing in for the win. So, hooray! At the very end here, we score a lucky win finally, where we have 3 copies of our Luminarch Aspirant. Not a free game. Plat 4 at 1 pip. Gotta start the slow climb back to the top. Our opponent is Rysif. Let's see how we do. Opponent is back to going first. We have a hand that's playable, so let's keep it. We don't have turn 1 play, so we'll just drop the Fabled Passage. Our opponent shows us green. And gets Edgewall Innkeeper out. Perhaps I'm playing the deck wrong. Maybe what I'm supposed to be doing is to get 1 creature in play and smash through everything that I see. Maybe that's what I'm meant to do. I have to keep that in mind. Most of the time I choose to go wide with the board as opposed to just getting 1 really beefy creature and start swinging as soon as possible. However, if I started doing that, I would lose quite heavily to things like Heartless Act and the Bloodchief's Thirst. However, if I focused on 1 creature, I would be way more likely to survive cards like Cinderclasm. Cinderclasm wouldn't have gotten me, so perhaps I might need to reconsider how I am playing the deck. In any case here, let's try Nullpriest with the Speaker of the Heavens. So literally just going against what I just said. Let's see what happens. Our opponent probably has Ember Cleave here now. If that's the case, it really didn't make a difference what we played. Our opponent only attacks with Lovestruck Beast, so that's not an Ember Cleave. Only 5 damage goes through, which is fine with me. And of course our opponent has cards like that. So we definitely need to get our Baneslayer Angel out next turn. We see Bloodchief's Thirst, which is also nice. So let's try Maul of the Skyclaves onto our Hushbringer, and then attacking with the Hushbringer. So yeah, maybe I have to change my strategy here. Like if I had gone Shatter Skill Smashing only deals up to 2 damage, so I would have survived. So lots of damage coming in from our opponent. Here I think maybe I need to go aggressive. Yeah, I need to get my Baneslayer Angel out. I attack with Hushbringer. If our opponent has Primal White, we lose. So that's the opposite problem, right? If we focus on getting one creature out, if they get rid of that one creature, then we are really far behind, and that's a problem. So Baneslayer Angel, block Edge Wall. Let's see what happens. Even if our opponent has Embercleave here, we'll survive. Yep, our opponent casts the Embercleave. We take a whole bunch of damage, but we have Baneslayer Angel to keep us alive. Bone Crusher Giant. Like, I want to believe there's something I can be doing, but when you see stuff like that happening, there's literally nothing I can be doing. there's literally nothing I can be doing better. There's just nothing I can be doing. But anyway, let's. I guess we'll still keep it in mind. See if we can get anything else done. See if we can get anything else happening. We're going first. We have 2 of our end games here, which is not great. Against our opponent, Titan Master. Selfless Savior goes in. Let's see what we got. We're against white. Let's see if we can sneak in some damage with Nullpriest. Attack with the Selfless Savior. Maul of the Skyclaves, and here we go, the Mana Screw. Hushbringer comes in. We'll attack with both creatures again. Our dog is dead either way this turn, I believe. We can save our dog here. So So see, this wouldn't have happened if our deck just, you know, let us draw lands. But here we are. We'll save the Heartless Act in case they, you know, finally actually draw something. That does mean that they might have another Omen of the Sun in their hand, so we won't be able to attack with Nullpriest unless we draw a land. Which of course is a Temple of Silence. Better than not a land, I suppose. Another land would be nice. Attack with the Hushbringer. Our opponent finds black mana now, which is not good news for us. Elspeth's Nightmare will destroy one of our creatures. Play a land, Maul of the Skyclaves. Our Heartless Act or Maul of the Skyclaves will go away next turn. Attack the 4 here. Yeah, so we're gonna lose one of those cards. I'll bet it's gonna be Maul of the Skyclaves. Yep. And our opponent casts Doom Foretold. So here... suppose we get rid of our Maul of the Skyclaves, because eventually everything's going to go down anyway. We'll get our Temple of Silence in. We see another land, which would not be a bad card to discard, I suppose. But I don't think we actually need to be doing that just yet. Opponent sacrifices that, which is great for him. Our opponent casts a second Doom Foretold, which actually helps us out a lot. If we cast this, we lose both. So let's just do this. It's our turn. So we'll resolve the first one, which gets rid of that. We'll resolve the second one, which means we lose our Snapdax, I suppose, or Heartless Act. Let's get rid of Heartless Act. Our opponent still has another creature, so we will just have to pass the turn. How? 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 That's 3 Doom Foretolds. Give me a break here. That's 3. 3 Doom Foretolds. How? Why? Just... Well, don't know what to say anymore. We are up against Zi Qing. We get to go first. Looks like we can do something. We do have a Temple of Silence, even though we don't have a turn 1 play. So let's see what our deck can do against the endless horde of instant death. So maybe now is the time to try and focus on one creature. So let's try that strategy here. See if it applies, see if we can get anywhere. Alpine Houndmaster, we hushed that one, so that's quite excellent. Play Maul of the Skyclaves onto our Hushbringer. We start attacking. Going on the offensive. Alright, so we can get a Lurrus and a Hushbringer. However, I think we're going to stick with getting the Hushbringer out for now. We'll attack with the Hushbringer, obviously. Yeah, I think we can force... No, I mean, if we don't block, I guess we can use it to attack for another 1 damage. So that might be to our advantage here. What does this do? Target creature can't block. Activate, don't cost... Activate... Okay. So he doesn't have anything actually that scary. So what we can do here is get this down as red mana. We'll cast the Lurrus. And I suppose we could wait for the bat. Although if I cast a Gloom Hunter here next turn, maybe I can spend my mana to move Lurrus over, or move my Maul of the Skyclaves onto Lurrus instead. So yeah, let's go with a full Air Force here. I feel like this is just going to be an all-out brawl at this point. So we'll attack with these two. Yeah, so the thinking is if I, of course our opponent also draws Maul of the Skyclaves, which is unpleasant. Because now he has a 5/3 creature that is extremely unpleasant to deal with. However, we do see Snapdax. If we mutate it onto Hushbringer, we'll have a gigantic creature that has double strike instead of just first strike. Three, 5, double strike. So first strike we would trade. We wouldn't be able to get past the Seasoned Hallowed Blade. So yeah, all signs point to us needing to attach it to the Hushbringer here and killing his Zerda. We'll blow up his Zerda. Ooh, actually, I should have tapped his Seasoned Hallowed Blade instead. I would have won because it wouldn't have been able to block. I always forget about that. Our opponent declines to discard a card for whatever reason and just hands us the victory. So finally, after all of that, it took us 16 games today to win 4. So that is a horrific win rate. I think the biggest lesson I learned today, yeah, is definitely to consider just focusing on one creature. If I'm against colors other than black, perhaps, so that I can survive things like Cinderclasm better and Stonecrusher Giant better. However, I think most of those games, if you've been watching, they were absolutely ridiculous. Our opponents drew gas after gas, killer combo after killer combo, and they have 3x of their most powerful cards in their deck every single time. So what can I do? Thanks for sticking it out. Check out the rest of my videos on my YouTube channel, Inculcation Gaming. I also have some quick drafts and the rest of the series in this Homebrew Mythic climb. If you're on YouTube, please help me out, like and or subscribe, ring it if you feel it. If you're on Twitch, drop me a follow. Yeah, that's all the energy I have left for today. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.